So what are,
Okay,
what are you doing now? The background or the
background? No, we're
Oh.
we're working on the background right now.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so we have burnt umber, cadmium red light, titanium buff, and I'm just taking burnt umber, putting a bit of red in it, titanium buff, just a bit. You still want a burnt umber, so I'm going to try here to see if I can, more like I'm using a round brush, so more like a, let's see. Yeah, I'm going to do a suggestion of a grain, a wood grain. You don't want it to be too light. That's why I'm doing it more like a glaze, because when you do a glaze, the paint is watery. So when it dries, the color underneath, which is really dark, will make that glaze look darker. You know, do it kind of in a random. You can see some of it, but not too strong.
It's kind of brown though. It's not so dark. Is that okay?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, it shouldn't be too strong.
Okay.
It's a hint. It's a hint. You're seeing a hint of that wood grain. Because if you look at the reference, you'll see that some of those wood grains, some of the wood grain pattern, some of it you can see, some of it you can't. So
Are we doing another coat stronger?
no,
Oh,
no,
okay.
just the way it is. We don't want it stronger than this. You could do some areas here. I'll show you. You could do some areas with the same brush. With a larger kind of, instead of lines, just go in. And give it a larger kind of paint.
Okay.
The wood grain or the background shouldn't be too strong. Shouldn't take over.
Yeah, yeah.
That it's soft. So if by the time we're done, we find that it's kind of too strong, we can always glaze it and make it softer. There's a hint of red in this wood. Can you see it? Or when you print it, did you print, you have the printout, right? Next to you.
Yeah.
You see a hint of red? No?
Yeah.
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 Yeah, it's a bit, there's a hint of red in there.
Can I go blow dry mine?
Hmm?
gonna go blow dry it. I'll be back.
Okay.
Good idea. I'm gonna do the same. I'll be back too. I'm blow drying.
Okay. John, are you working on the same project or something else? John, you're working on the same project?
Maybe he went for the.
I
blow.
muted myself. Sorry. Yes, I am.
Oh, okay.
Because I was blow drying.
Yes.
Okay, yes.
So Lal, is this supposed to look at the wood grain?
Yeah,
Finish
yeah, that's
inside?
what I
Yeah.
was telling myself. I like doing it, yeah.
You like to do, is that what you're asking, Jamal? Sorry, what was your question?
No, I'm asking, is this supposed to give a wood grain finish at this point, or are we going to come
Yes.
back again? Because
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Not too much. You don't want to add too many because it will take away from the actual
Design.
design
project.
itself.
Okay.
So what you're seeing here on mine is a bit, here, let me turn it off. So not even with turning it off. It's darker than what you're seeing. It's a bit darker. So now for the cutlery, for the spoon in the back, I'm going to start with a layer of burnt umber and cerulean blue before highlighting this. I need that layer. Needs to be dark, but at the same time should have a bit of blue in there. You can see the bit of that blue in the reference when you're.
You did cerulean blue and the burnt umber?
Burnt umber, yes. Now this is burnt umber. And titanium buff. I'm using a round brush. The burnt umber is drying very dark. The one I have on the first layer, it's drying really dark. So this is a second layer right now with burnt umber and titanium buff. This is now, I'm mixing cerulean blue, burnt umber, and titanium buff. I'm just adjusting the color. This is raw umber right now. That's good.
You added raw umber to it?
Yes,
Leah?
yes, I put raw umber on this side, right here, right here.
Oh, on the inside.
Yes. It needs that that dark brown in there. This needs just a bit of layering in there to get it right. I'm going to try for this part right here. Can you see?
No,
Can you
you
see?
have to put
Yeah.
down.
And for this, I'm going to try different kind of combination of colors.
Lower it down a bit. The camera can't pick up the top of it. Okay. Okay.
Right here
Mhm.
and all around. It looks to me like it's a, here, let's see, it's a titanium buff, but it's a bit reddish. Okay.
Doesn't Payne's Grey give you the tinge of blue you need?
Payne's gray?
Yeah, it gives you the tinge of blue that you're asking for.
I'm actually seeing right now with this highlight right there, I'm seeing a titanium buff with a bit of red.
Huh.
The red we have?
Very, very, yeah, you know, like very, I'm not sure. Do you see it or are you seeing yellow? What are you seeing? Yeah, like Naples yellow.
I think
Oh,
the red
I
is
think
coming from the
red.
cherries, like it's
Yeah.
kind of like combining what you see with the cherries. It kind of,
Hmm.
it marries the colors together so that there's harmony with colors.
Yes, that's why I'm seeing, I think I'm seeing red.
Yeah.
But you would think automatically doing a spoon or any cutlery that there would be some kind of a blue in it. Like,
Yes,
but I don't see it in this picture.
you don't see the blue.
I don't see any blue, but maybe I'm not looking at it.
Well, there is blue in there. There is. It's very subtle though. This is now burnt umber and a very, like a glaze of burnt umber, I should say. It's a glaze. And go back. Add again that strong.
What colors
reflex.
are you doing there, Lael, again?
Pardon?
What colors is
Oh,
that?
so what I did is I added a bit of burnt umber in here, like a glaze between the dark burnt umber and the light. Between this light part right there and the
Yeah.
dark part that I have in there, I added burnt umber, like a glaze of burnt umber with the touch of this color here that I have, titanium buff. It just, so you know what was happening? I'm having here a very strong highlight, and then it was right next to a dark color, like a dark brown. So I'm softening this dark brown so it doesn't look like a harsh cut in between. There, just
But now
soften.
you have a very bright edge
Yes,
to this. So is that just the titanium buff that you've used there for the edge?
yes, just titanium buff. I put a bit of red in it. Oh, no, I didn't actually. Just titanium buff. Just titanium buff in there. And I'm seeing the same thing. So if you look carefully here, you see there's a shadow of that fork over the spoon.
Mhm.
Between that strong highlight that you see in here and the shadow, there's an in-between color in there, like the soft in-between color. So I'm seeing a bit of blue in there with the brown and titanium buff for that very soft color in between. Because that dark color is the shadow of the spoon, the fork. Gonna take you can take either, it doesn't matter, either raw umber or burnt umber and add a bit of cerulean in it with of course, you know, a touch of that titanium buff.
that really light color that you're doing right there, is that just titanium buff and what else, Leah?
That's raw umber, cerulean blue, and a touch of titanium buff. Yeah, very, very subtle titanium buff. I'm going to clean my brush. Yes, it is raw umber, touch of the cerulean blue and titanium buff. So now I'm going to go back to my titanium buff and a bit of red and adjust that highlight again. This is a highlight that's really strong in here. Like not a highlight, it's a reflection.
But now you put red in it though, too.
Touch, a very, very small amount of red, touch of red. Because you can see a bit of red in there.
Yeah, yeah.
It will look much better once we work on the fork. Doing burnt umber and titanium buff because the edge of the spoon behind the fork and on this side is darker than the left one. It's a strange, that's a really hard kind of reflection in here, or change in colors. Very, very hard to do that. Very subtle change between the dark and light. I'm using a glaze right now. So if I find with the glaze that's highlight I'm doing, if I find that it's too light when it's dry, I'll glaze it darker. Should be okay. I'm enhancing the color here. Like I'm using just titanium buff with a bit of red, and it just in that little corner right there, like that in between, not the whole thing from top to bottom, just in the bit in between, and right here. It's much darker here, much darker when you look at it. On the monitor, it looks really light. I'm thinking of doing a beginners class in January. Like beginners, like really beginner. I got a lot of, I get requests for beginners class from value scale to color wheel and
Old people, Leah.
everybody, whoever wants to join.
Okay.
I guess the more you work on it, the better it looks. Okay. So for this part here, the handle of that spoon we're working on, what we're going to do, I'm going to take raw umber and a bit of cerulean blue, mix them. And cerulean blue, and I'm going to take a bit of titanium buff. That's for first layer. I'm going to come here and this is a bit too light right now, so I'm going to increase.
Okay.
I'm going to increase the amount of the raw umber in here. That's good. All right. I always start with a kind of a dark background. Start from dark, then to medium, and then highlights. Okay. So this is the part where I'm seeing blue right there, all the way up and over. So I put that blue all over. I'm going to come now to, it will dry darker. So I'll wait for it to dry and then I'll adjust.
You put blue now, Leah, or
No.
on top you're gonna put blue?
No, I used raw umber and blue, right?
Yeah.
And titanium buff for the first layer. So right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my titanium buff, take some red. Gonna come here. It's a dry brush. I'm dabbing. Very soft dabbing. I'm going to be dabbing layers. I'm going to layer my dabbing. It's very dry. It was too dry. My brush was too dry. I put a bit of water in there.
Why are you dabbing?
because that's what I see. I'm seeing a more of a, hold on. I'm adding a bit of raw umber in there. The reason I'm adding raw umber is just because using red with titanium buff was too bright, so I toned it down with raw umber. Why am I dabbing? To get the texture, like to create that texture that I'm seeing in there. Yeah, definitely, it definitely needs raw umber for that. This is going to be layering, more like layering, putting layers on top of each other for this texture. It's not going to happen the first time. It's going to be back and forth between dark and light, or medium tone, not dark, using raw umber, titanium buff, and red. And also sometimes I will have to go back in this area here to blue and raw umber and titanium buff. So otherwise it will look, it needs to look rich and textured. Now I'm picking up a bit of raw umber and blue. For now, I'm going to ignore any kind of detail I'm seeing. I just want to have a good base. So when you're doing something like this, what you want to do when you look at something like that, where you have texture and layers and all of that, you strip the object to the first layer. And then you start putting on top of that the pattern that you want to put and the highlights and everything. But you need to have a base.
That looks really neat.
The more layers you put, the nicer it looks. You're seeing what you're seeing on the monitor is lighter than what it is. It's not that light in here. I will scan it and email it to you so you can see the colors properly. For stuff like this, glazing is really good. I mean, I like to put layers of glazed color, like layers of thin colors, than a heavy, thick color right away. sometimes what I do is I use clear gesso for my glazing. Even when I put the highlight, a light color, I'll show you what I mean in a minute. Even when I put this light, see how light this color is? This line right here. I start with a medium tone and then I highlight slowly. So I don't put the color right away. So if I see white, I don't put white right away. I put a medium color tone and then I highlight it.
Would you highlight it all the way down, or would you make like so, or leave it more like a broken line when you highlight?
I probably follow exactly what I'm seeing in there, Astero. You know, exactly what I'm seeing in there. So if I see the line going all the way down, I'll do that. If it's not, I will, you know what I mean? Like I will follow what I'm seeing in the reference. Because that reference is pretty accurate. It's a good reference. Oh, this is too strong.
Is that a painting or a photo?
Photo. It's a photo. So, okay, for now. Okay. And then I go back and I enhance the colors or the highlights. So if it needs to be a highlight, more highlighted on this side, I will add more highlight in here and stop. So it's not really highlighted all the way. It should be like faint right there. Okay, good.
Looks nice.
Slowly. This is the type of paintings that would, you know, it takes time, but the more you work on it, the nicer it looks. And glazing is great for this type of pattern or texture because you can still see underneath. You can still see the glazed or the texture underneath, even if you are putting a layer on top. And that's why glazing is nice. It gives you depth. You see, I'm ignoring everything else. Like I'm not really worried about showing details right now. Thank you.
Oh, looks good.
I'm gonna get going, Leah. Thank you for everything.
You're welcome.
Bye.
You're welcome.
I'm gonna go too, and I will watch that video. Oh my
Yes.
God, I'm losing
Yes.
my train of thought. Lael,
Yes, yes, yes.
I almost called you something else. It's late.
Yes,
It's
it
a
is.
long day.
It's all right.
Okay, we'll
See
see you
ya.
next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Esther.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Leo.
Bye. Oh my God, I can't stop.
Yeah, me too.
Lael,
Yeah.
if you're into a new series, Mythomaniac is on Netflix.
Don't
Which one?